Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart. Today, I got another great episode for you in ways that you can simply level up very, very easy, very, very effective, and maybe the number one single nutrient deficiency for people all across the board. Before we dive into that, I want to give a little shout out to everyone that is listening today for all that you do in terms of giving yourself an opportunity to level up. So listen, in a world where things are challenging, we have to move forward quickly, all of the above. For those of you who are out there taking moments to listen to a podcast like this, or you're checking in another podcast, whatever it may be, but you're giving yourself an opportunity to get a little better, to figure out some other strategies, actions that you can take to continue to level yourself up. High five to you. Hats off for you. That is the name of the game. This is not about convenience. This is not about making it always easy. In fact, oftentimes we have to be a little bit inconvenienced, and often we're also going to need to be a little bit uncomfortable. So for those of you that are here, keep doing your thing, keep sharing it out, keep spreading the love, and a high five for you for just giving yourself, honestly, we don't get enough credit for those of us that are out working on ourselves, personal development, just literally trying to level up our own minds and our bodies and our lives, etc. I want to just make sure you guys are hearing me when I say this. Keep up the good work. That is the difference maker. You are absolutely worth every moment that you put into making yourself better. All right, with that being said, let's dive into the episode today. I've covered this topic a couple times, but it's well worth me doing it again. We're going to talk about magnesium today, and this might be the single most deficient nutrient. It's a mineral that we see right across the board. And this isn't, so for starters, is this one you need to test for when it comes to labs? Not really. And the reason I say that is we're really not that interested in just seeing the blood levels of it. We're really looking to see what's in the tissues. And therefore, when we do blood and we test it on our blood, it's not a very accurate measure of what we're looking for. Because a lot of people will say to me, Doc, I did a blood work test. My doc ran a regular CBC and magnesium came back normal. Is that okay? Not really. So I would say this: most people are going to be deficient if you're not supplementing in it. And I'll talk about which supplement I like, why I like it, and why there's so many out there that are all good, and why I've chosen the one that I do. And you probably couldn't go wrong by taking any of them. All right, with that being said, here are a couple of things. Magnesium it's part of the electrolyte group. So think of magnesium and calcium, sodium, chloride, and potassium. Those are all part of your electrolytes. Most importantly, what does that mean to you is that they are part of what keep your electricity out. They keep you moving and grooving. If we become deficient in any of our magnesium, or any of our electrolytes, that's when we start to see things fundamentally start to slow down. Now, magnesium specifically is probably one of the ones we see most deficient. And the reason for that is the way that it's used. So it's not necessarily an intake issue. For some of it is, but most of the time it's actually how much of it's being used daily. So many of you heard that magnesium is required for over 300 different enzymatic reactions in the body. And as time goes, they're starting to jack that number up to not just 2 or 300, but now 500 different reactions in the body require magnesium in order to complete those tasks. And what that means to you, if you're deficient, there are so many things that could start going south on you. So with that being said, what are some of the things that make us deficient in magnesium? And here's where the rubber hits the road. Stress is a primary one. Because we use so much energy when we're under stress, it is often one of the things that depletes magnesium the fastest. The other two are big time as well. So alcohol will deplete your magnesium sources probably by 50%, or at least twice the rate normally. And then so will sugar, and so will sweating. So we got stress, sugar, sweating. What else did I just say there? Alcohol. So if any of those are in your life, then there's a very good chance that just because of those, you're running a magnesium deficiency. But here's my favorite reason why clinically I like to, for the most part, almost broad spectrum, we'll just put everybody on some magnesium. And the magnesium I use, for those of you just have a quick moment here, it's called magnesium lactate. And I'm also going to describe to you today how to determine your magnesium tolerance. There's an at-home test that you can do. So magnesium lactate, I'll make sure it's in the notes here. Start with 3 at night. All right. With that being said, often we find ourselves deficient. My two favorite reasons clinically why I start everyone at least some level of magnesiums for these reasons. One, sleeping and pooping. So those are two fundamental actions, health actions, quite frankly, that every healthy human being should be doing easily. The reality is less than 50% our country sleeps properly, and less than 50% of our country is able to eliminate properly. So we have issues with gut health and constipation and diarrhea and all of the above. You put those two together, I would say that probably at least every other person has an issue with one or the other, if not both. So for that reason, by itself, if you can get some better sleep, fantastic. If you can eliminate your bowels a little bit better, fantastic. One of the challenges that we have is that there's so many reasons we're depleting ourselves, and we're using so many stimulants to kind of bring our energy and our health. We lose sight sometimes that some of this is just foundational. All right, with that being said, when we look at magnesium itself, some of the signs, it does not necessarily make us fall asleep, but it helps us stay asleep. For those of you out there that are having issues, you're waking up in the middle of the night, most likely you're waking up between 1 and 3 a.m. or 1 and 4 a.m. And that's simply because your liver needs a lot of magnesium in order to be able to complete its jobs, all the different duties that it has through the course of the night. And your liver, for the most part, is going to go to work between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And when it does that, it's going to need a lot of tools to help detoxification. And magnesium is one of those primary ones. So if you're depleted in magnesium, what happens is that you wake up. It disrupts your sleep, disrupts your energy. And therefore, then we wake up. And often what people say, oh, I'm not sleeping good. I got so much on my mind. I'm stressed out. And that's not why we're waking up, folks. You don't wake up because you're stressed. You wake up and then you go back into your normal, thinking patterns and your routines of what's going on in my life. And then you start thinking about all the different stresses that you have. So with that being said, magnesium is a yin mineral, which means that it's a very calming to the body. Again, it's not going to make you sleepy, but it helps your body naturally go through that process of helping your body sleep. So it is not uncommon, especially as a chiropractor, and the chiropractors listening to this will probably agree with me. It is not uncommon that someone will lie down on my table and I can feel if they have a nutrient deficiency in magnesium. You might say, Doc, how do you figure that out? So calcium is the nutrient, the mineral that helps your muscles contract. So if you don't have really strong muscles and you can't really flex them strong, often it's indicative that you are deficient in calcium. So calcium contracts. It's what we call a yang mineral. And yet magnesium, it helps us relax. So when people lie down on my table and they're literally wound up and they say, Doc, I just can't relax. One of the fundamental reasons is because we don't have enough magnesium. One of the tools, so it's not an herb, it's not a drug. It doesn't force you to be relaxed. It helps your body become relaxed. So it's one of the root causes of your body's ability or lack of ability to become relaxed, which is pretty cool here. So if we get a little bit more magnesium in our body, we can help our bodies sleep. Then how about the other part, the pooping part? How does it help there? So again, it's not a pooping agent. It doesn't force anything out. It's not fiber, for none of those reasons. Again, it is a relaxation, or it helps our muscles do what we call vasodilate, which means open up. So it opens up the intestines and allows things to flow through. So sleeping, pooping, and so many other things. For example, every single heart case out there, every single one, bar none, almost always, I said all of them and then I said almost, all heart cases need magnesium. Your heart is a muscle. It's almost in every single case I've seen clinically, we see a deficiency in magnesium, and magnesium will always support whatever is going on, whether it's AFib, whether it's high blood pressures, arrhythmias, whatever it may be. Magnesium is always needed in those cases. The interesting thing about that, we see a lot of those happen as people age. So it's not necessarily the 30-year-olds, but it might be the 60 and 70-year-olds. And in those scenarios, often people need more magnesium than when you're young, even though they might not be as big, or they might not be sweating as much. And that really comes down to the ability to assimilate and absorb these nutrients. So it's not uncommon that someone that's in their 70s, I have them on 2 and 3 times the dose as I might have someone that's at 35 years old. All right, so let's talk about dosing a little bit and how you do a magnesium tolerance test at your house. So the typical recommendation is about 600 milligrams of magnesium. Typically with magnesium lactate, I start you off about half of that, which would be about 3 capsules, and typically I'll do it at night. If it's a heart case, I have to take 3 at night and 1 in the morning is a starting point. And sometimes we go a lot higher than that. So once you do that, once you start with that, if that by itself along with a nice healthy diet and improving things like your stress loads and getting rid of some sugars and getting rid of some alcohol, if you reduce those and you increase your magnesium, all of a sudden you can find yourself taking a huge leap in fundamental foundational health things like sleeping and returning energy back into the body. So in the event that you are just starting off with magnesium and you take 3 capsules at night, some of the things that you're going to be looking for: is it helping you stay asleep at night? Go that way for a week or 2 with 3 capsules. If that's not doing it, maybe you increase the dosing. Maybe you go to 4, maybe you go to 5, maybe you end up at 6. In the event that you go all the way up there, and here's part of how you determine your magnesium tolerance test. Right at the point that it might start to create loose stool, not just a little bit, but too loose of a stool, that's your tolerance, and you back off 1 capsule, and usually that's your sweet spot. And that's how we functionally find our individual need and really our need for magnesium. So again, I'll just kind of repeat that. You start low and you start to increase capsules. Maybe, like once a week, you go up a little bit higher dose. Now, this, depending on the type of magnesium, this sometimes is where it gets a little confusing. Sometimes with the type of magnesium that you use, there's all kinds out there. There's a lot of good ones, and they all do things a little bit different. I don't know that there's too many that I don't recommend you use. Maybe magnesium oxide, I'm really not a fan of that one, but nonetheless, some of them do a great job of crossing the blood-brain barrier. Some are really focused on what they can do with the gut, just to help you poop and stuff like that. Magnesium lactate, for me, clinically, has probably been the most significant to just do a little bit of it all. It helps you relax at night, helps your muscles unwind, replenishes the tissues, helps replenish the way your muscles can relax. It helps your intestines move the bowels through. So many things. So it's called magnesium lactate. I usually start people about 3 at night, 1 in the morning if there's also some type of cardiovascular situation going on. So we have a little bit more magnesium through the course of the day. Can you bump it up? Absolutely. Again, it is not uncommon that as people age, we need to do more, not less, because our bodies do not assimilate those nutrients quite as well. All right, so that's a little recap on maybe one of the simplest but more powerful things we're doing. If you're not already on magnesium, it's a great place to start, even if you think you don't need it, because remember, it is an electrolyte, and it is one of the most significantly and easily depleted. Again, sweating, stress, alcohol, sugar, all of those deplete our magnesium sources. So by bringing it back, your body will be at ease a little bit better. You can flex. You can get a little bit more flexible, can stretch out a little bit easier, sleep a little bit better, and of course, move our bowels. All right, folks. Once again, good for you for taking a little time for yourself. Hopefully this is, again, just added to your arsenal of things and knowledge that you have so you can continue to take actions, to continue to let yourself level up. And without the actions, we don't know. So just go out there, take some action. I'll make sure in the show notes that there is a link so you can, if you'd like to try some magnesium lactate, that can happen for you. Keep doing your thing. Keep sharing this out. Keep spreading love. If you get an opportunity and you like the content that we're producing here, go to wherever you are listening to this, whether it be Spotify or Apple iTunes, etc. If you can leave us a 5-star review, that helps. That's what makes other people interested in listening to the podcast as well. In the meantime, make sure that you continue to take deliberate action for your mind, your body, overall wellness. God be awesome.